Hello, friends and nonprofit leaders. I'm so excited to introduce you to this new format for the podcast. Not only are we available on iTunes and Spotify and Google Podcasts, we're also on YouTube. In the past, we've uploaded only the audio file to YouTube because, well, it's automatic and it really wasn't that much fun to watch. Well, starting today and for the foreseeable future, we are going to share the behind the scenes Zoom video with you here on YouTube. So instead of describing my guests' background in their office or their facial expressions for you, you can view them for yourself just by visiting the Your Nonprofit Life YouTube channel, which is linked on the website. Now, let us know what you think about this new video format and if you think this is something we should continue doing, or if you really just prefer to have it on your phone or, listen to it in an audio only format. So we're really interested in your feedback. And now on with the show. Today's guest is Henry Burrell, the founder of the Jonesboro Business Association. Originally from New York, Henry relocated to Louisiana for a while and now resides in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between life in Queens as opposed to life down in the South. Now, here's what you need to know first about Henry before anything else. He is a successful businessman. He's been in the hospitality industry and restaurants, developing leaders for decades, pouring his life into them and also into his community. Now, after moving to Jonesboro, he recognized a gap in the local business sector and began brainstorming how to fill it in such a way that the community would be stronger, come together more, and locally owned businesses would be able to collaborate and have a bigger impact, especially with the students in Jonesboro. Isn't that the way it happens with nonprofit founders? They see a gap or a need and they envision a way to address it while changing lives, and then they rally other leaders to join them for greater impact. Yeah, you should be nodding yes right now because that's exactly how nonprofits get started. I can't wait for you to meet Henry Burrell and hear his story about what it's like to develop leaders in both the for-profit and the not-for-profit sectors of Jonesboro, Arkansas. Here we go.
Hey, have you ever wished you could hear some good news for a change? Well, I might have just what you've been hoping for. Welcome to Your Nonprofit Life, where we remove our rose-colored glasses and explore what leaders are actually doing to move their nonprofits from messy to thriving without burning out in the process. I'm Laura Zelke, Director of Member Experience for the Nonprofit Leadership Lab. Join me each week to explore the ups, downs, and whoopsie daisies of your nonprofit life. Let's get started.
Well, Henry, I am so excited to have you as a guest on the Your Nonprofit Life podcast. And I have to say, this is also the first time we've ever actually shown the video of the podcast. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited that you're my guest today. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on here and also for saying yes to the video.
Thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to speak about what it is that we do. And there's no way that you can be more nervous than I am at this point.
Well, we'll push through it because the work that you're doing down there in Jonesboro is really, really exciting. And I think I got to hear about it originally. Were you in the fundraising boot camp? Is that what it was? And we were kind of doing the elevator pitch practice and all of that?
Yeah. So I think I accidentally stumbled onto the elevator pitch and I was allowed to, participate and got a chance to speak to you and Dan. Super encouraging, that brief interaction. And it really encouraged me to continue on with what we're doing.
Well, it's just really exciting to, I get the honor to meet different nonprofit leaders doing all different kinds of work, really all over the world. But what you're doing in Jonesboro, now this is Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I'm hoping our goal is to put this out on Juneteenth. as a celebration of what you're doing down there. And so, why don't you tell us just, in a nutshell, kind of what Jonesboro Business Association is all about?
So there are three things that we would like to do as an organization. One is create a network of like-minded change makers is a word that I would like to call the people we want to participate. Secondly, we would like to build their capability and their capacity to do more within the community as a united group. So networking, building capability, building capacity, looking for funding in all the right places, sharing resources. But then the third thing is to actually catalyze and to start and to empower as a group to do more in the community to help those that are marginalized. That's in a nutshell what it is that we're trying to do.
I mean, it's really quite a detailed mission that you have. It's multi-pronged because you want that firm foundation. Mm-hmm. And what I want to do is kind of share with the listeners a little bit about your journey. Like you're not from Jonesboro, is that correct?
No, I am a transplanted northerner. I came down south to Louisiana to go to college and just fell in love with the South, and then been here in Jonesboro for about 4 years now.
Okay. And so where were you up north? Or should we not say?
No.
No, I know how it is.
No, born and raised in New York, New York City, Queens, New York. Lived in New Orleans. That's where I went to school. I graduated from Tulane University. Again, fell in love with the South traditions. I've moved up along the Gulf Coast over the years, but we were in New Orleans and then ended up in Baton Rouge due to Katrina. Was in Baton Rouge for 7 years. Yeah. And then recently here to Jonesboro in 2017.
Yeah. I was just giving you a hard time about being a transplant to the South because I myself am also a transplant to the South. But my journey was from California, Nevada area coming out here. And, we've lived here almost, 20 years. I mean, on and off. We moved out here in 2000. And so it's 21 years, but we had 4 years back in Nevada in the middle of it. And it's hard when you are kind of an outsider coming to the South because things are so different and there's a lot of different traditions and foods. And it's where I learned about what actual sweet tea is and what a buggy is and how to order biscuits at Bojangles, which is like my favorite breakfast out here. But before I get off on biscuits and sweet tea, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? Like that's your physical journey of New York to Louisiana, but like what were you doing and moving down in the South and like what have you been up to? How did you actually get into the nonprofit sector?
So the majority of my career not the majority, all of my career has been in the restaurant industry. I have had a very, very good career and track record. I've held positions at a national level. I've covered huge geographical territories from Washington, D.C. I went to Jacksonville, Florida. I've had 10 direct reports, 2,000 indirect reports. And so if you would say that I have a spirit, it would be leadership. And I've been able to go teach, develop leaders over the past 30 years. Going into the nonprofit sector is just a good segue at this stage in my life to use those skills that I've developed in community service. So about this time last year, with all the social unrest throughout the country, I began to have conversations with people who I do life with, and found out that there's a lot of hormonal uh, relationships, but not really true relationships. And just to steal a philosophy from Brene, we have to be empathetic towards each other to have progress. Sympathetic responses to me drive division. Empathy drives connection. So how do we get connected in trying to move forward as a community, as a nation, as a society?
So moving to Jonesboro, did you notice any like cultural differences? Like I know there's differences in North Carolina, just depending on where you live. Did you notice a big difference, say, moving from Baton Rouge up to Jonesboro? Is the culture different up there at all, or is it pretty much, is it similar?
No, there are some slight cultural differences. So in the larger metropolitan areas that I resided in, there were different, more apparent, visible networking entities that were able to bring groups together to solve problems within the community. Here in Jonesboro, there are a tremendous amount of organizations that are dedicated to helping and impacting the lives of those who are marginalized. The issue that I saw when I began having these conversations around last year was that a lot of these organizations were not connected in working with each other, combining resources, combining funding.
So we had a little technical glitch, but we're nonprofit leaders, so we're just rolling with it. And we have regrouped here. And so I just want, Henry, if you can go ahead and just pick up, you were telling us kind of about how you had noticed that there were a lot of individual organizations doing some really important work in your community.
Mhm.
And we were kind of at that point, you were starting to talk a little bit about the impact that your organization is really trying to have in the community with all those other leaders.
Yeah. So, again, going back to what we referenced, what was going on last year with the George Floyd and all the social unrest, and having conversations with members of the community, we discovered that there were a lot of organizations doing a lot of great work, but there are really four areas of impact in a community. There's economic development, there's civics, there's health and wellness, and there is mentorship for the young. And even though there were organizations that were dedicated in each one of those four silos, I would say that there wasn't really an impactful seat at the table. So the idea is to unite resources and network all of these organizations together to have a bigger impact in the community.
Gotcha. And that makes so much sense. And
Mhm.
so your organization is pretty new. And what I'm understanding, and I kind of want to bring this out a little bit, is that your background is in the restaurant industry. But here you are, you moved to Jonesboro and you see kind of a gap, I guess, in a way of what you've seen maybe in other communities, possibly that you're not seeing there. And so you've created the Jonesboro Business Association to kind of fill that gap.
Mhm.
And so am I right? Is this your first nonprofit then?
This is, and super, super scary because the skill sets in how you conduct a corporate organization versus a nonprofit is entirely different. So this is a huge learning curve. But I can say that my experience in the restaurant industry was more about people development and building their capabilities than it was just producing a food product. So the overall overarching goal for JBA is building a team, which is the networking piece, building people's capabilities or organizations' capabilities and capacities with their leadership and their organizational design to do more, to seek funding out, to make their organization as impactful as it can be and as it was designed to do. And then the other one is to, again, to instill confidence, to instill that energy and empowerment in each one of those organizations to do what it's mandated to do within the community.
Right. And so even though this is your first nonprofit, this ain't your first rodeo.
No.
Like, you've been doing this kind of work for years, and you're basically bringing all of your skills and passion to really have an impact, a broad, I guess, a bigger footprint, a bigger impact in the community to really make necessary change, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I want you to tell us a little bit about what are some of the things that you're doing or that you've done in your community already, just in the short time. How long have you had your nonprofit?
So we started work in August of 2020. There was a local election cycle. We got involved with some of the local candidates, started video conversations with them to build information platforms at a very remedial level for social media, so people can understand what that candidate's platform was all about. We also started to have conversations. We conducted a workshop on demonstrating the difference between equity and equality and how one can connect people and how one could keep a community divided, even though both words sound very, very fruitful and productive. The other thing that we started was telling and crafting the story of local African-American business owners and leaders about how they started and the keys to success. So we started a small video series called If You Can See Me, You Can Be Me, which helps create a different narrative other than the one that's seen on television through news cycles, so forth and so forth. So we felt like that was a very important thing. I also would like to say that the nonprofit introduction also has some personal connection for me, not only just for what we're doing in the community, but nonprofits in general are designed, like 60% of them are designed to help those who are disadvantaged. But the majority of those organizations are either run by or led, depending upon how you're looking at the staff, is by people of non-color. And so minority nonprofit organizations, especially minority nonprofit organizations, struggle a little bit against certain biases. So helping, again, creating a network, building capabilities, leadership development, sourcing funding, and all that important work that needs to be done is what we're all about.
Right. And so let me ask you this. When you talk about the Jonesboro Business Association, is it primarily like, are you trying to attract all the business owners in Jonesboro, or is this meant to be more of like an African American or Black and brown, BIPOC type of organization?
No, so great question. I appreciate that. So this is a collective, all community, all hands on deck effort. But the total outcome of that, the ultimate goal, is to take these efforts of all this community generosity and resources. It is designed to help those who are marginalized. Right now, again, for different reasons, those organizations that have been designed to do certain things or created to do certain things in the community are facing challenges. And it has to be a communal responsibility of all races or all ethnicities, of all genders, to do things that will help those that are in need.
Yeah. Well, it's really quite admirable that you're doing this. So, Henry, what are some of the activities that the Jonesboro Business Association does in, like, do you do more than just, like, do you have weekly meetings, or what exactly is it that Jonesboro Business Association is actually doing in the community?
So two of the things that we're definitely doing right now are the video series, If You Can See Me, If You Can Be Me. We're entering into a pilot program with the middle school here that's going to be super, super impactful in terms of creating and making a difference in the number of minorities graduated from universities with a college degree. Unless we impact that, the poverty rate will always continue to be in the 30% range nationally, and here locally, the numbers are relatively the same. One of the things that we do when we do meet as a board and as a group of stakeholders in this organization is really pay attention to sustainability. How do we build the organization? How do we do this in a way that when we are long and gone, that the Jonesboro Business Association and what it stands for will continue, and how that works?
Can I interrupt you for just a second and talk a little bit about your program? If you can see it, you can be it.
Okay.
Because I find that so important, especially in light of just really everything. And I'm on my own journey of racial awakening and having to re-educate myself and just becoming more and more aware of the lack of representation, particularly just in my, my generation and the couple generations behind me. I'm a buster generation, Gen X. I'm right after the boomers. And, not having representation in textbooks of, multiple ethnicities or something like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the program? If you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah. So in the early 70s, Gloria Steinem actually coined that phrase, if you can see it, you can be it, when she was addressing the lack of women in politics. So the truth of the matter is, if you don't have enough reflective representation, then you leave a level of doubt in a particular group if they're not represented in different professions, industries, so forth and so such. Our program right now is just born from the fact that, as I discussed with people here in this area about race relations, what came about was there was not a lot of interaction between groups, not for any other particular reason. It's just minority groups are very small in this particular part of the country. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity to exchange and to learn. So stories and understandings of different groups came from television, movies, print media, which is not always healthy or representative of a particular group. So that also plays a role in the psyche of children. So one of the pilot programs that we want to do with the middle school is to create and introduce different non-parental role models for children. Because at that age of adolescence, at that age of development, they are just echoing who they may be. And if there's not a lot of variety, then you become very narrow in who you identify with. And we think that it's super, super important that in that collection of those people who are representative, that you have minority doctors, minority lawyers, business owners. So there is a connection of, oh, I can do that. That's part of the narrative is one, speaking in general as a group of professionals about our accomplishments, what's done, different obstacles that people face, and then also doing that at an adolescent level so we can help students create goals, add additional role model identifications, value systems to help coincide with what parents are teaching the children at home. So that's the reason why that project was born.
Yeah, I love it. And you said you're doing it with video, correct? Mm-hmm. Is that because of COVID, or is that just kind of what the plan is?
No, that's actually what the plan. That's actually what the plan is. One, people listen and do things in sound bites. There's an amazing amount of things that you can say in a space of 4 minutes. And using Instagram, using Facebook, we're continuing to build a website where this content is there for people to refer to. We think is very, very important. One of the other aspects of this pilot program is actually taking this video effort that the school has a program. So we're eventually going to turn this program over to the students and help direct them in the interview with local business leaders and these role models for them to do. So now they're doing projects on their own where they're creating, I guess, their own newscast or podcast with local leadership and positive role models. So that's something that we'll turn over to them and support them the best way we can.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And, you guys are spot on. Back in the day, way back in the day, when I was in college, I wanted to be like working with youth, and it's so important for them to have relationships with adults who are not their parents. And not to knock the parental role, but we all know that at a certain age, the outside voices are going to have more influence sometimes. Mm-hmm. Not that they're saying anything different than what the parents are saying. It's just that the teens are often more likely to listen to an adult that they're not related to. And so for you to have this association and this mentoring program that you're going to be doing with the students is not just empowering for them, but like getting them out in the community and getting that. Mm-hmm. That's early networking. I mean, that's just brilliant to get them. It's the relationships. You don't even know where that'll go in the future, mm-hmm. right? Because they one of the kids may interview someone and it changes the trajectory of their life. So that's huge. So I love the mentorship. And you also mentioned, let's see, I took notes. Mm-hmm. So mentorship, economic development, civic responsibilities, and health and wellness. And so as you're looking at, the rest of 2021, do you have anything coming up, anything that you're planning on with your organization?
Yeah, so the board and team that of stakeholders that have been involved, we are committed to sustainability, that this program, this organization needs to be here a lot longer than we are. And in doing so, our bold goal is to have 60 to 70% of our budget to be self-funded. So we're working on an annual event that will be able to fund a lot of the projects that we want to do. And so there's a lot of time and effort doing creating an event that involves the entire Jonesboro community and even Northeast Arkansas, a big draw that will fill hotels, restaurants. We're working with city government. We're working with other, private funders to create an event that will be a draw. I think that just a little peek underneath the hood, that as a society, I think what we all join in common, where we can all get together and have fun, is we all have an appreciation and a love for music. So I'll just leave that at that. But there's an annual event that we're trying to design that can bring the community together.
Oh, well, I love that. And I can kind of imagine what it might be. Little teaser here. So I assume you'll probably put information about that out on your website as you get more firm with it. It's always interesting to interview kind of you're kind of a baby nonprofit, just kind of,
Mhm.
starting to crawl a little bit and, getting to the point that you can walk, and then we're just going to watch you run with it. How has the community responded as far as the conversations that you've had so far with different business owners? Do you find that this is something that is being welcomed in Jonesboro? And are you finding kindred spirits that want to join you? Let me ask it this way. Is getting this thing off the ground, is it easier than you thought it was going to be? Is it harder than you thought it was going to be? Or like, how's that working out for you?
So I would say it's about 50-50 in terms of actually doing it and what I thought. So the key is what I've been learning with being in the lab. If you communicate well, there's better reception. So the more I'm involved with the lab and doing and following the courses and reinventing how we communicate is super important. As we've gotten better as a team in doing that, we've gained more and more support from people that we've interacted with. So I would say that the formation of the board was critical. So it stops being Henry's project or I know this guy to there's an organization. We speak and conduct ourselves as an organization. We invest a lot of time into the board development stage. Right now, we're very committed to just the three of us. That is on the document as the board, and our discussions about how do we onboard more people? How do we check off the boxes of diversity? How do we check off the boxes of those who are going to bring different skills and connections for us to grow the organization? Using those, we end each meeting with the discussion about the 14 attributes. So having a strong foundation and creating an army of brand ambassadors is something that's been very, very fruitful for us, because as we speak about the organization and about what we want to do and being very strategic or very unified in our communication, we've been able to garner more and more support and create and build relationships within the community. So I would say to anybody who is starting out, have your vision, learn how to articulate your vision, and create an army of supporters that will continue to cascade your message, and you will grow exponentially with support.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing, I think, for me, me personally. I get to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch the development and the growth. And I love hearing you talk about how, we don't, this is not a podcast to pitch the lab or anything like that. It really is just, it's a podcast that we started to be able to share member stories with other members, actually, because we used to do a thing called, what do we call it? Oh, a live cast. And we would get like 12 different nonprofit leaders, 12 different members, and we would have Joan interview them within 3 hours. So everybody got like 10 minutes. And it just wasn't enough time to really get in and dig in and understand the story. So it wasn't it wasn't enough time to get in and tell the story to really understand what's going on. And what I love about the podcast and kind of the opportunity that we had in the boot camp a couple months ago, to really refine that elevator pitch and really, really think through articulation. And then just to hear how that's helped. I mean, that's what it's all about. We're all about making sure that organizations can have the impact that they want to help you move your mission forward, not burn out in the process, right? Like that's a huge thing for me is we want to be supportive of you so that while you're doing it, you don't burn out. But I also wanted to just say that it's when you have a board of 3, so there might be people listening who have a board of 15 or a board of 12, and they're like, oh, you can't, you can't do it. But a lot of times when you're just getting that organization started, that is the start, right? You got to have just enough people to get that 501c3 and get it going. And what I love is that you're so proactive and making sure that you're getting the training that you need so that you're setting it up for sustainability. Because in a year, you're not going to have only 3 people on that board. You'll have more people on the board and you'll be setting it up for success. So it's really, really kind of exciting to watch you in this phase of getting things off the ground with the Jonesboro Business Association. And, I'm kind of curious have you had any challenges as far as, getting this off the ground? I kind of wonder, coming in from corporate, nonprofit is so different. There's a lot of similarities, and yes, you're bringing your leadership development skills to the fore, but at the same time, the nonprofit world is a little bit different. And I'm just kind of curious how that's been for you.
So I would say that being in the nonprofit sector, the key word is relationships and being able to foster relationships in such a way that people want to be alongside of you. When you don't know how to talk about your vision or present your vision, you lose your audience along the way. So it has to be compelling, it has to be direct. And so taking a vision and being able to get it out within 2 to 3 minutes, it's a challenge. So I encourage people to really work on that particular aspect of it. I think the other thing that I would probably say to people is you're in this position as a nonprofit leader because you're a particular type of personality. We use the word change makers. We want to build an army of change makers. As a visionary, it's important to have faith in that. And so I always refer to a story that I heard about Walt Disney. So when Disneyland opened, Walt Disney had already passed. And his wife was at the presentation at the grand opening. And someone had commented to her, I wish that Walt was here to see this. And her response was, if Walt had not seen this, we would not be here. And that just stuck with me, that a vision and your thinking and you being an army of one or an army of few doesn't make your initiative or your organization less important or less impactful than larger organizations. And hold on to that, because when you think like that and you have a passion and a love for serving others, that has a tremendous amount of value. And, I think the hardest thing is people kind of like, oh, you need to be $1 million organization to have relevance. That's not so. Your idea has value, and it takes time to create that and stay the course.
Right. And having a long-term vision. I love that quote. What was it? If he hadn't seen it, it wouldn't
we
be
wouldn't be
here.
here.
We
Yeah.
wouldn't be here. I love that because it's I love it because it's true. It really resonates in that um, you have to have that clear vision, and you have to stick to it through all the challenges that come your way, uh, and not get thrown off when you have speed bumps. That and you had mentioned Brene Brown earlier, and I kind of joke that it's kind of my goal to mention Brene Brown in every podcast. So thank you. But just thinking about, that's when we have challenges, to lean into them with curiosity and learn and to listen. And it's going to be so important, especially for an organization like yours that really the foundation of the Jonesboro Business Association isn't, at least correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's economic as much as it is relationship. Like that's the real foundation of the Jonesboro Business Association. It's relationships, right?
It is. That's the core. That's the core of it, is building coalitions to take various skill sets through a diverse group that have the shared common goals. And we just put ours into 4 different silos. Again, the civics, the economic development, mentorship, and health and wellness. In any society, those 4 pillars or columns or programs are what it is. If we can continue to help support and build programs that are already in each one of those, there are mentorship programs out there, but some mentorship programs are stuck in the mud for either lack of funding or they didn't do a logic model. They weren't built for sustainability. Their board is made up of friends that don't challenge each other. There's reasons, and what JBA wants to do is connect all those dots, help where we can, fund where we can, help people gain access to funding, create relationships, open up doors for people as we open up doors for ourselves. It's hard for me to coach someone on how to create a program if I've never done a program. So this mentorship program that we've created or that we're working on is us going through the process so we can teach other people how to go through the process and to avoid different pitfalls. And then if there is not a program in one of those 4 silos, now we have the training and the experience to develop a program in that.
Right. It's just really, really exciting to see your vision, for what you've got planned, and to be able to come down there maybe in a couple years and be like, wow, oh, this is that event. This is that big event that he was talking about on that podcast a couple years ago. This is wow, they're really making an impact in the community. And when you say Jonesboro Business Association or JBA, people know what you're talking about. So it's really, really cool to be kind of on the front end of it. I don't know, we may have to check in with you maybe in a year or so and kind of see how things are shaping up down there. But if people want to get in touch with you now, what would be the best way for, say, a potential event sponsor or someone who might be interested in joining your business association? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can reach us. Our website is www.jonesborobusinessassociation.com. That's the easiest way to do that. We can be reached on our Facebook page, which is Jonesboro BA, or we can be reached through Instagram, which is Jonesboro_business_association. That's the easiest way to get in touch with us or to interact with us in any form or fashion. We will be able to accept donations by the end of this month, and we will create different links and everything to get to the webpage from our Facebook page and to work social media in that regard. So, yeah, we're out there. We're working on it.
Well, it's exciting. And I will put links to all of that on the show notes page. And maybe once you're ready to unveil the event that you're talking about, we could link over to that as well.
Okay.
So that people, sometimes people don't know about a podcast. And then when they find out about it, they'll go back and listen to some previous episodes. And I think with this being our first video entree into the video world, be nice in the comments. That's all I have to say. It's just, I know people are going to want to follow you in your journey. So thank you. Henry, this has just been quite a pleasure to talk with you this morning and to learn more about JBA and learn more about you and your passion for the community, not just the adults in the community right now, but the kids coming up and like mentoring that generation. And like you said, getting more graduating from college and, giving back in the community. It's just, it's a tremendous vision. And I'm really, really honored to know you and to learn about your organization. So thank you.
No, I appreciate it. The pleasure's all mine. And thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll see you in the village.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. To access the show notes or share feedback on this podcast and link over to our socials, visit our website at yournonprofitlife.com. That's yournonprofitlife.com. And hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you're going to love The Village. It's our exclusive online community where we take what we're learning in the Nonprofit Leadership Lab and apply it. We take it to the next level with live Q&As, boot camps, online book clubs, and legit support from experts committed to helping you extend your nonprofit life. By the way, since we're just getting started, it would mean the world to us if you'd subscribe to the podcast and leave a great review on iTunes. The reviews will help us get the podcast in front of more people as we try to take the whole sector from messy to thriving. See you next time.